as we zoom out and zoom back in for Ole Miss at Kentucky. We have the Rebels ranked 14 here at your Sports Outpost. This game is in Lexington. The Rebels are favored by 10, which is kind of interesting because last year's encounter was 20-17. The Wildcats getting a road win there in 2024. The first game in the SEC for both of these programs, as they started off 1-0. Didn't play an FCS team. Georgia State for Ole Miss, Toledo for Kentucky. I would say Kentucky struggled a hell of a lot more. They didn't really put that game away until the fourth quarter. Ole Miss was basically running away with that, especially opening up the second half. That's kind of like where you saw the big distance between the two, as it ended up being like 63-7. So 1-0 programs, a little bit different from the last game that we just talked about. This might be just the year Mark Stoops kind of falls off and kind of is one of those true bottom teams in the SEC. Because is Kentucky going to have enough firepower to get another big win against the Rebels? Again, it took them too long to put the Rockets away, a team that they should be far ahead, better than, even though Toledo did beat Mississippi State last year in Starkville on the road in SEC country. But Kentucky had pretty good years. I mean, they put up fights against Georgia last year. They put up fights against South Carolina. Just a lot of tough games there at home that they lost to. This is a game that they should be like having on their calendar in the offseason. Like, we beat them last year, we got to beat them again, especially if Mark Stoops wants to be on the positive side for the fan base there in Lexington. Because if it's not, then he has to kind of go all the way to the end of the season to beat Louisville, because it doesn't look so good in the SEC, especially if they lose to Ole Miss, and not in good fashion as well. One big concern that I have, Zach Calzada, their current quarterback, he only had 85 yards through the air, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, ran the ball 10 times for only 14 yards, rushing it in 1 time. Got to have a little bit more production out of him. I think the biggest weakness for Ole Miss on defense is the secondary. So if you can't get a throwing quarterback to get involved or get him getting anything through the air, it's going to just be a bad time. But you guys, I understand though, especially Kentucky fans, that you mostly are running the ball with the new running back in Dante Dowdell, who had the longest run from a snap last week for a 79-yard touchdown, which was most of that 129 on the ground. Again, that was a 1 rushing touchdown that he had. But I guess there's some positives that you can look at. Ole Miss did give up 191 yards on the ground to Georgia State, but that's all the Panthers can really do against Ole Miss, in kind of just smaller passes. Maybe that's the approach that Kentucky has to have this upcoming week for them to have it. I mean, minus 10 points. I mean, maybe last year was an even wider spread, but still minus 10 points is still, that's a 2-possession loss, maybe even a little bit more. But now also we're in the Austin Simmons era for Ole Miss. He had some first half interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. 341 yards in his debut as a starter for the Rebels. 3 touchdown passes. On top of that, this offensive line looked like it struggled a little bit in the opening quarters against Georgia State. Can Kentucky, who's been pretty good in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball the last couple of seasons, even though they lost some bodies in the transfer portal and to the NFL, they just have, I guess, recruited and coached up in those areas pretty well. And that might be the advantage that they have on at least that side of the ball. The secondary, though, is going to be somewhat of a challenge. They got to keep up with this fast pace, already back on the ball after the ball is played. Offense in Lane Kiffin and what he likes to do. They were basically like, if you watch this game, you're not going to be able to see highlights because of how quick Ole Miss, you'll hear the whistle and then they're already back out, ready to get in the play in on the line of scrimmage, ready to go. So can they keep up? If they can stall that, then yeah, Kentucky has more than enough chance in this one. I think Ole Miss does win this because of their defense, who should hold up on their end. They only gave up, I think, like 6 to 10 points in the first half, if I'm not mistaken, against Georgia State, and then also against Kentucky last year. If they could hold on to that lead or whatever early points they can get against Kentucky, and then kind of coast off of that in the second half, then have more opportunities for Kentucky throwing the ball a little bit more, which is not what they want to do. Then there's some possible turnovers and putting this game away. We're going to go with Ole Miss winning it by 13, so more than covering that -10. I think the big difference in here is Daquan Wright, the Ole Miss tight end. He's going to be a big red zone target. He got himself a touchdown last week, which wasn't in the red zone. It was actually from open field. I think they were like just past the 50 for the Rebels when he got that one in. And again, one thing to mention is Ole Miss's DBs, they might not get involved as much, and that's kind of the thing that Kentucky needs to exploit. But if they run it effectively enough, maybe that's not going to be an issue if they are to win this, but we don't think so. Ole Miss by 13. Yeah, we like it. We love it. We want some more of Austin Simmons developing. Trey Wallace, who comes in from Penn State, very, very solid wide receiver there. Kind of really didn't get to see much of anyone else besides Wright, who we just mentioned at tight end, who we think is going to be a big difference. It's going to be pretty interesting. See, like Alexander, who comes in from Wake Forest, Scribbling, who comes in from Oklahoma State. Those guys are going to have to be the difference once these kind of higher profile targets for Ole Miss kind of get shut down, not just for this game in some parts and then throughout the season. But Dowdell, this guy, if he can go off for a drive or two for Kentucky, that might be the difference here in Lexington. But again, we like Lane Kiffin in that offense and that front end of the Rebel defense to get the big win in Lexington.